Ukraine, what sanctions could be imposed on Russia? Western powers are threatening severe economic sanctions against Russia if it were to invade Ukraine. Western diplomats are refusing to be explicit about specific penalties to keep Russia guessing and maximize their deterrent effect. So what sanctions might the West be planning? Financial restrictions. One measure being considered would be to exclude Russia from the system known as SWIFT, a global financial messaging service. It is used by many thousands of financial institutions in more than 200 countries. Boris Johnson told MPs that banning Russia from this would be a potent weapon. It would effectively make it very hard for Russian banks to do business overseas. This sanction was used against Iran in 2012 and the country lost significant oil revenues and a large chunk of foreign trade. But this sanction would have an economic cost for countries like the United States and Germany whose banks have close links to Russian financial institutions. Clearing. The US could ban Russia from financial transactions involving US dollars. Essentially, any Western firm that allowed a Russian institution to deal in dollars would face penalties. This would mean that Russia would be extremely limited in what it could buy and sell around the world. This could have a huge impact on Russia's economy as most of its oil and gas sales are settled in dollars. Sovereign debt. Western powers could take action to block further Russia's access to international debt markets. The ability of Western institutions and banks to buy Russian bonds is already restricted. Those curbs could be tightened. This would deprive the country of access to finance that it needs to grow its economy. The country's cost of borrowing might rise, and the value of the ruble might fall. Russia has prepared for this by reducing the amount of debt held by foreign investors. Block the banks. The US could simply blacklist some Russian banks, making it almost impossible for anyone in the world to conduct transactions with them. Moscow would have to bail out the banks and do what it could to avoid inflation rising and incomes falling. This would, though, have a major negative impact for Western investors with money in those Russian banks. Targeted export controls. The West could restrict the export of key commodities to Russia. The US could, for example, stop companies selling any goods containing American technology, software, or equipment. This could involve, in particular, semiconductor microchips, which are used in everything from cars to smartphones, machine tools to consumer electronics. This would target not just Russia's defense and aerospace sectors, but whole swathes of its economy.